Well, what a day to be alive. 4 studios in one day. How awesome. I just got back from vacation and this is the first thing that I see, and it's astonishing to me how this even happened. Like, some of them made sense, but then the other ones just made no sense at all, mostly because of like the Xbox vision. But let's get right into this. So if you haven't heard the news today, 4 Bethesda studios shut down. Those are Arcane Studios, Alpha Dog Studios, Tango Gameworks, and Roundhouse Games. I don't know what happened and why any of them are getting shut down. We'll probably find out within the next couple days, but this is absolutely rough. Anytime Xbox actually has an advantage or does well within like a month, they always mess it up the next month or within the next week. I don't get the issue. And they always have to have one problem. Like last month, or was it 2 months ago now, people were complaining about how they were moving their games to other platforms. I honestly couldn't care. Do whatever you want as long as everyone can play them. I could not care less. And then now this, with 4 studios shutting down, it really makes you wonder, like, where they're trying to direct this, and maybe if they overspent for Activision Blizzard, and this is the defect of that. Never mind, they came out with a little thing about this. So this is from Matt Booty. Today, I'm sharing changes we are making to our Bethesda and ZeniMax teams. These changes are grounded in prioritizing high-impact titles and further investing in Bethesda portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which you have nurtured over many decades. To double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities that are best positioned for success. This reprioritization of titles and resources means a few teams will be realigned to others and that some of our colleagues will be leaving us. We are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investments in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. Honestly, after reading all this makes no damn sense. It just doesn't make any sense because it's all hypocritical at the end of it. So Obsidian is over here making like Pentiment and stuff. That's not Blockbuster. So where is this Blockbuster like idea coming from? You also have like games like from Double Fine that make like Brutal Legends, Psychonauts and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love all these games because they're all unique in their own rights. But at the same time, you gotta keep your like same energy. Like, you also have another game that they made was As Dusk Falls. Like, who the hell asked for that? But for some reason, that studio is completely fine. Personally, I get why it is because, you know, it's an independent studio, so it's a little bit different. But at the same time, they did put the funding in for it. So you have to keep that same energy when you're talking about this stuff. They're not at all, so it gets really confusing. And like this is why people get upset with Xbox and Microsoft so much, is because like any type of decision that they make always just like cuts through something and makes no sense. Because if you're going for blockbuster games, you need to cut out everyone that doesn't make blockbuster games. Like, I personally don't want to see like Brutal Legends and Psychonauts and stuff get discontinued because I said this, but at the same time, quote unquote, if you guys want to go for only blockbuster games, those games need to disappear. Those games aren't of interest. At least that's how I see it. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But let's get into a little bit more. Like, let's talk about what games each group has made. So Arcane has made like games like Dishonored. Everyone loves Dishonored, from what I have been told. I only played the first one a little bit, and I honestly enjoyed it. They also made Redfall. I think this is where the downfall of that studio went. But honestly, before that, they even had a 10 out of 10 game. I forget what it's called, but you can play as this guy. Oh, Deathloop. I'm stupid. There you go. Deathloop was a really good game from what I've heard. It had like 10 out of 10s and it had like a unique idea and stuff. So you're telling me even though they dropped like a 10 out of 10 hit blockbuster type game before, just because Redfall did terribly, they get shut down after? But at the same time, that's not keeping the same energy because Tango Gameworks came out with Ghostwire Tokyo, which I've heard it was like a 6 to 7 out of 10 game, which isn't that great. But then they also came out with Hi-Fi right after, which was a banger, at least in my eyes. I thought the game was perfect and it did a lot of things right. And I think most of the people that played it have the same idea. The other two studios kind of made more sense. The other two just didn't make sense, at least in my eyes. because if they're shutting it down because of like Redfall being bad, why is 343 allowed to sit around? Because I understand Halo has gotten into a better state over the years, like with the newer one. But at the same time, it shouldn't take years to get like fixed. It's the same thing with like Battlefield and stuff. You shouldn't be taking years to make your game actually good, because then at least I will never change my opinion on it. The game was bad, and that's how it is. Even if it gets better over time, I will always remember that, and I will hold that grudge. But yeah, today's been absolutely rough, and honestly, I don't know where they're going to go after this. But the industry is having a huge shift, and it's starting to stress me on like the future of like gaming and stuff, because this is just so much stuff just completely disappearing. And I understand like sometimes you need to make cuts and stuff, but after you buy Activision Blizzard, this looks like a salt in the wound, because it's just like, oh, you got something that you really wanted, but I think you may have overspent by like maybe 10 billion to 20 billion. And this is like the downside effect of that, is that we lose 4 studios. And honestly, well, technically they already lost 5, because, you know, the Spire Group has left 2. Toys for Bob is their own independent studio. So kind of an L. You spend 70 billion just to lose one immediately. But, you know, we'll go into that later. But the industry is just having its own fucking field day right now. I don't understand. And to be honest, I don't know where Microsoft is going to go after this. It really sucks, because this means they're just going to be prioritizing games that we've already seen 300 times over. And I don't really want to see that personally. It's just kind of drags on. And the thing that was exciting about having all these studios is that we could see stuff that was new. Like Microsoft had so much money, so it made it interesting to see like what type of games can come out. But now with so many studios getting shut down, now you're just wondering, it's not only about, oh, which games are going to other groups now, like Sony and Nintendo. Now the real question is, what games are on the chopping block now? Which isn't a good mindset to have in your head. I just don't understand. Personally, I am concerned about some of the smaller groups. Like I said, Compulsion is a concern, In Exile is a concern, and so is Double Fine. I could see all of these being like in the next chopping block, which isn't a good thing. We shouldn't even be having to think about, oh, well, technically, by you saying this means these groups are on the chopping block as well. Like, technically, almost everything that Microsoft has been building up, they're just pretty much breaking down immediately. Because one of the things that made this like whole thing seem more exciting is Microsoft being like the most unique group now at this point in time, because they're not dropping the same type of games every 5 days. Like Nintendo has been dropping Mario for who knows how long, and Sony's been doing remakes every 5 seconds. It was exciting to see all these new games come into the industry, but now what's gonna happen with all these groups? Are we just about to see a huge like pull out and lose a whole bunch more studios, or is it gonna stabilize? We won't know until the future, and I'm really stressed out to find out how that's gonna go. Sorry for the brief ramble. I started losing my train of thoughts throughout it. But I really want to see what you guys' thoughts are on this. This is honestly one of the biggest concerns I've seen since other studios getting shut down. I didn't think we would get a lot more. Mostly this many all at once. Maybe 1 or 2, but like 4 in a row that's just rough, and it's all from the same group. It shows that they overspent, or they just didn't meet their criteria or marks, whatever they were looking for. Honestly, I can't really tell, because you can't say they're looking for blockbuster games and then do all this. It just doesn't make any sense. You gotta keep it in the same mindset, but they're really not, so who knows. But if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and a sub. And if you have anything else to suggest to like check out, make sure to leave them down in the comments down below, and I'll make sure to check it out as quick as possible. And before I go, one other thing, I appreciate all the support on my last video on Overlord. It kind of gave me the idea that you guys really enjoy that type of videos, and like those type of long form content, like retrospective type videos. So I'll make sure to keep an eye on other ones. I was thinking of Brothers in Arms maybe for the next one. but I'd love to hear you guys' ideas on that. But all right, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.